I've only heard a calliope once, and it was whenever I went to New Orleans once. There was a calliope playing near some spot. Okay, so we get shot out of a cannon, and then all of a sudden we're just standing perfectly straight in the desert. Completely unharmed. Like, there has to be some kind of explanation for what happened between getting shot out of a cannon and just that shot. Definitely closure there that just doesn't exist. I want to see the moment that Link crashes into the sand and gets burns all over his face, and then eventually gets... whatever. What the spirit said about the fused shadows? Well, it was months ago, so I don't really remember that well. Okay, the fused shadows were banished. Oh yeah, the spirit of Lake Hylia. I remember that now. I mean, how could you forget that wonderful cutscene? Oh, we got a glimpse into the Shadow Realm, or the Twilight Realm, sorry, it's not the Shadow Realm. Although it is basically the Shadow Realm, I guess. I love any glimpse that we can get of that place, because I love it. Just how it looks, it's so pretty. I love the shadow clouds. Yep, I can see that. Would make sense that you're a descendant of the tribe that was banished. Because you do come from the Twilight Realm, and in a sense you've been banished again by being secluded to this imp form that you have. Hello, Zant. Whenever I hear the word Zant, or the name Zant, think about my teacher from high school who was named Van Zant, but it wasn't spelled the same. And he was a funny person. The goddesses forbade us. It's an interesting word. They left one link in red letters between the light and the darkness. Something called the Mirror of Twilight. This game could have very easily just been called A Link to the Twilight. Or A Link Between Worlds. Like any of the... just about any Zelda game could be called A Link Between Worlds. But they decided to settle on that for the 3DS one. That's another nice moment. When Midna's trust and compassion with Link has increased to the point where she can just touch his cheek. I don't know. It's kind of fun. Alright, you know what? I want to get across this desert a little bit faster. So, let's go, Wolf. Onwards, steed. Except, can you call yourself a steed if you're the one who's riding yourself? I don't know. That's not the vocabulary that I meant to use there, and that is a hole of death. I wish that I'd known that sooner. Yeah, this desert just kind of has big gaping holes in it that lead to bottomless abysses. Although sometimes they're just cracks that go a few feet down and that's it. But clearly I don't know what is what. I like the vastness of this desert. I also like how somewhere back here, I don't exactly know where, but somewhere in this back wall there's just like some small cave room that doesn't really serve a purpose. I think it just has some rupees in it. But it just has wood covering it up, a few wood planks, and then you have to crash through it with a boar. Yeah, this right here. I'm pretty sure if you crash through that completely insignificant set of gates, you can get some rupees, and I like that it's there, even though it doesn't serve a purpose. Probably specifically because it doesn't serve a purpose. Like, there are things in this game that exist even though they don't need to. And I like that attention to detail with Just anything that goes out of its way to be more than it has to, I think is nice. It's not necessary for 100% or anything, it's just there for fun. And the night is approaching slowly. Oh, hello. I forgot that Shrek's minions are here. And speaking of Shrek, I'm now reminded of the fact that recently, somewhat recently, I mean, I guess within the past 3 weeks, maybe, I had my very first parfait. It was like half chocolate something or another parfait at the Australian Outback, and it tasted great. I dare say it might have been one of the tastiest things I've ever had, and I'm just thinking about Shrek's, the donkey's line in Shrek about how parfaits may be the most delicious thing in the whole dang planet. And that's exactly what I thought about the moment that I had that parfait, because it was the most delicious thing. So if anyone hasn't had a parfait, then I highly recommend it. They do indeed have layers, but not in the same way that onions do. Oh, these boars are not the most pleasant things to control. I'm sure they're not supposed to be. They just turn so much whenever you lightly tap left or right. It's probably strategic that... Well, I was gonna say it's probably strategic that the night comes just as you've crossed the desert completely, so that you can get this Poe soul here. Because the Poe souls only appear at night. Except for in a certain very cold location that we'll see later, where it's essentially always night. I mean, it's not really always night, but it might as well be, because it's always overcast. But the reason that that might not be strategic is because it is possible to enter the desert at night. And then the cutscene with Midna touching her hand against her cheek and everything is different because it's nighttime and her tattoos are glowing and it's so pretty. Just, I love the colors with Midna in the night, like... I don't know, it's just great. Generally, orange and blue make for great colors to set a mood. I mean... just accidentally picked up this pot, very daintily, and then set it back down. What I meant to do was crash it against the wall. I got a blue rupee! What a surprise. And another one. But that one gets no fanfare. It's not as important. Alright, this is probably where I wanted to go over this stretch. Portal is another game with the blue and green, and then the movie Hugo makes a lot of amazing use of blue and... or not blue and green, blue and orange. I'm just confused right now because I'm seeing a lot more blue and green at the moment. Even the sky is blue and green. Hello, Moon. Nice to see you. Good night, Moon. Good night, Wishing Star. Good night, etc. I mean... I don't know if those are, like... I don't know if those are the lines from the Goodnight Moon book, or if they're a song, because I recall them being part of a song. And I don't know where I heard that song. I want to say it was, like, the Tigger movie, but I haven't seen that movie in ages, and I don't remember what the credits sequence to that movie was. Even though, for whatever reason, like, whenever I was really young, I tried to sing the entire credits sequence of that movie, because I liked how it sounded. Funny the things that you can completely forget, and also the things that you remember. And also on that same note, I remember, like, going back to the whole Shrek thing. Can I use my arrows here? I want to stealthily knock you out if I can. Cool. That's something that I don't normally do because I don't think it's that important, but... I'm just all of a sudden remembering, like, I got a yellow rupee! That and... just, I remember my sister and I... oh, well, I've been spotted. We were, playing on our trampoline, because we had a trampoline a long time ago, and I don't know if we still have that trampoline. We probably don't, come to think of it, because we don't have a use for it right now. I don't think I've bounced on a trampoline in at least 5 years, and probably more. It just hasn't come up. But that would be fun to do again. And we were taking turns... we were taking turns bouncing on the trampoline to the length of Shrek, or songs from the Shrek soundtrack. And then I stupidly decided to take the longest song from that soundtrack and bounce along to that. And the longest song in that soundtrack is the Hallelujah one, which is easily the most emotional, least bouncy song. And so it made no sense to bounce along to that one, especially because it goes on for longer than 5 minutes. But yeah, that is a memory that I have. I want to say that these guys are endless, and trying to fight them all is probably useless. So I'm just going to keep going. And if I'm wrong, well, either way, I'm still gonna see if I can... Is there anything over here? I really thought that there was something over here. Is this where I'm supposed to go? Well, yeah, I'm definitely supposed to go this way, but... somewhere around here is... perhaps the greatest heart piece in the game. If I can find it. Yep, here it is. Now this is what I want right here, is... this specific guy has a key. Or someone has a key. That thing that was sparkling a minute ago, that's what I need to look for. Yep, there you are. If I can pick you up, There we go, small key. And then this boar is getting roasted. Ha ha ha! Oh, I love a good roast! And then after you slash it a few times, it explodes, and you get a heart piece. Which is just the greatest thing. I didn't want to pick up this box. This kind of made things a little bit more difficult for me. I also enjoy how that rupee just kind of floated down out of the air very softly. None of this makes any sense. Alright, I would really like to avoid this onslaught of peril that I'm in. Hey, another boar. Maybe I can roast you and get another heart piece. And a nice tasty breakfast. Except who eats a boar steak for breakfast? Maybe you do, Ozobe. There are certain foods that just don't make good breakfast foods. At least in my mind. Like, any food that you would eat at dinner is not food that I would ever have for breakfast. So, steak, green beans, mashed potato... maybe mashed potatoes, but even still it would feel kind of weird. Okay, apparently spin attacks work great on this guy. Do you mind attacking? Yep. Swing your big, ugly mug axe. Not as threatening a boss as he looks. Although, I guess he doesn't look super menacing with that flabby belly of his. Then again, who am I to talk? Sore loser. Has to growl at me after he leaves. It's not like I sliced his arm or anything. And there's this sequence that's supposed to be intense, but I don't feel the tension from it because I've already tested this, and I probably explained this earlier, but if you remember that bomb shop that exploded, if you stay in there for too long, then you die. And this is the same kind of situation where everything's on fire and everything's burning and you have to escape, and has the same music and everything, but this one doesn't have a time limit at all. There's no time limit. You can just take your time. As long as you need to, you're not gonna die. And so it's kind of weird to me that the same situation happens twice in this game, and yet the rules aren't the same both times. I don't know. And we get a cutscene to ensure that all of the fences are broken. Every line of defense. Oh gosh, am I ready for this? I don't know if I'm ready for this dungeon yet. How long have I been recording? About 40 minutes? That's pretty good. Considering that I usually don't record. I'm gonna have to think about that, because this is a kind of confusing dungeon, and I have a few not-so-great memories with it, and it might also be my least favorite dungeon in the game. Not that it's a bad dungeon, because it's a good dungeon, and memorable, and also has throwbacks to a certain forest temple in Ocarina of Time. But yeah, I might worry about this one later. We'll get a sneak peek. Sure, I'll turn into a human for the reveal, even though it's not much of a reveal. It's just one of the less important rooms of the dungeon that we're gonna see. Nice entrance, though. I like these flames. Good torches. Then again, I think about how, one of the admirable moments to me of Nintendo Capri Sun's Twilight Princess Let's Play is whenever he entered the Arbiter's grounds, and he didn't intend to record as far as he did into that recording session, then all of a sudden he said, you know what? We're gonna keep going. And then he did, and then all of his commentary turned out fine, so I wonder if that's what I should do. Because I always admired that moment in his Let's Play, and this is the perfect opportunity for me to do the same thing, so to heck with it, let's go. Let's do the Arbiter's grounds. Why not?